If you're into the DC universe, then I'm pretty sure that you're aware of Big Barda. Introduced in the 4th issue of Mr. Miracle, this new god is definitely something. She is a strong-willed, beautiful woman who is very good at combat and military tactics. She was born to lead Hellish army under the command of Darkseid, but she went through her reformation and eventually became Mr. Miracle's wife. She was brought to life by Jack Kirby, who was inspired by Lainey Kazan, the actress who appeared in the Playboy magazine around the time for her character design. Barda was the first example of a big, strong, physically imposing woman choosing to be with someone who is not as tall as she is. But there's more to Barda, and that is what we will look into today. We will learn about her anatomy together, and hopefully we will learn why Barda is able to survive for days without rest or sleep, how she can use her energy blasts, whether she's immortal or not, and one of the biggest questions, is she stronger than Wonder Woman? If you're interested to know, please stick around and let's get on to it. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Big Barda? The biggest threat of the DC multiverse is Uxas, better known as Darkseid. He is one of the biggest foes of the Justice League and the greatest adversary of New Genesis. When someone is as harmful as he is, there is no way he does his bidding without manpower. Now, when you're a villain, having manpower is important, especially when you're running an evil empire. That's why, when Darkseid decided to make the most brutal enforcers of his rules, the female Furies, he handpicked all the traits. He chose all the traits of ruthlessness, cruelty, avarice, etc., and bred the new legion of his army on the brutal planet we know as Apocalypse. On this planet, the majority of the people were enslaved to Darkseid's will and rule. There was a formidable warrior on this land known as Big Barda. She was a ruthless and amazing warrior. One of the children she bore was Barda. It was assumed that Barda was born in a gestational lab and that she was bred scientifically. But no, Barda loved a man, and their love child was Barda. However, when Darkseid learns that one of his best warriors has fallen in love and has a child, he decides to take the child away. He took Barda and put her in a gestational lab. After keeping her there for a while, Darkseid pulled her out of the gestational lab and put her in Gradney Goodness's care at her home for orphaned youths. Here, she grew into a beautiful young woman who was well trained in military tactics and combat. When she showed exceptional prowess in battle, Barda was chosen by Granny Goodness, the leader of the female Furies, to be part of the same. Can Big Barda survive beyond space and time? Now, given Big Barda's backstory and how she came to be, it would be easy to assume that she is not someone who can be easily taken down. After all, she is part of the female Furies, and over the years, we have seen how strong the female Furies truly are. One of the things that really is striking about Big Barda is that ever since her first introduction to Mr. Miracle issue 4, there has not been much change in her appearance. She looks timeless. That is because Big Barda exists beyond time and space. Barda is a being of New Genesis. People from New Genesis exist beyond the general constraints of time and space that we all fall under. The realm they live in is called the Fourth World. This whole existing beyond time and space is because they live near a very primitive source of energy known as the Source. This source is considered to be one of the ultimate foundations when it comes to how the universe expresses energy. Because of this, their realm is different than ours. The Source has also helped the beings of New Genesis evolve into having almost godlike physiological aspects. Can bullets and laser blasts penetrate her invulnerability? Whenever we see Big Barda, she wears armor. This armor definitely has its own role when it comes to protecting Big Barda in the midst of fights from punches, kicks, slashes, and other forms of blunt force trauma. However, even without her armor, she is quite strong. Thanks to the Source, she has evolved into having a new god physiology, giving her superhuman durability. She can take on most of the blunt force trauma without falling over. However, if the person fighting with her has power similar to or greater than hers, then Barda does take damage. Now obviously in comic books, every villain would rather bring a gun to a knife fight than come with a knife to a gunfight. How does Barda fare when she has to face off against villains like that? Sadly, she does not fare too well. That is because, despite her superhuman durability, she can easily fall victim to bullets and laser blasts. Any type of slicing weapon can also be effective against Barda. If we really had to draw parallels for better understanding, Barda is immune to these things like Wonder Woman and not Superman. How does she maintain peak efficiency for nearly 48 hours without eating or resting? Owing to the source, her body went through a lot of changes that were quite unexpected. The evolution gave her superhuman strength and superhuman reflexes, but one of the things that she got, which beats pretty much everything else, is her superhuman stamina. Now, as Barda is the daughter of Breda, who is a very important and fearsome warrior, she definitely inherited those traits from her mother. Barda was taken away and trained by Granny Goodness, which definitely helped her physically quite a bit. All of these factors, along with the evolution that she ended up with, helped her have stamina that not a lot of people can beat. She's able to function continuously without seemingly taking a break because of her stamina. The longest that we have seen Barda function without any breaks is 48 hours. However, eventually everything does catch up to her, and she has to rest after 48 hours of no sleep and no food to make sure that she can maintain herself properly. However, this endurance of 48 hours is not any easy thing to achieve, so we do respect her for that. Is she more powerful than Wonder Woman? Now, standing at 7 feet tall, Barda can be quite scary looking. She's beautiful, but she is a fearsome thing to behold. So, it is safe to say that she's quite strong. Barda has, at one point, led the female Furies, so she has to be strong, no question asked. But, is there an incident where we truly see her physical strength displayed? Yes, we do. In the 4th issue of Birds of Prey, Big Barda ends up in Themyscira. Yes, the island where Wonder Woman is from. They are there to take a girl called Sin with them to save her and the people of Themyscira from one of the 3 Furies, Megara, who has been targeting Sin. She has been fighting left and right with the trained Amazons when Diana showed up. Themyscira is usually not under attack. Nobody really thinks that they can take on a bunch of trained warriors and come out alive from there. So understandably, when Diana heard the news that the Birds of Prey had shown up on her island and were beating everyone up, she was in no mood to talk. While everyone was busy fighting Diana's sister, Big Barda was the one who faced off against Diana. Now, Diana is very strong. Being one of the strongest characters in the whole DC universe, there are very few people who could possibly hurt Diana. Turns out, Big Barda is one of them. From the moment Big Barda and Diana face off, Barda landed punch after punch in Diana's face while being sincerely apologetic for the fight. At one point, we see Barda lift Diana up in a swoop and bring her down on her knee, effectively breaking Diana's back in a move that is very familiar to comic nerds who have seen the Capped Crusader of Gotham in a similar position. Even though Diana recovers in a few minutes, being as resilient as she is, and eventually succeeding in knocking out Barda, it is very clear to Diana that Barda, one of the strongest new gods in the DC universe, is a very worthy opponent who could easily defeat her if Barda managed to get the upper hand in any way. How does Big Barda project energy blasts? Big Barda has a weapon of choice. She's always seen wielding what is known as a mega rod. The rod comes in handy when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, and sometimes even in transportation. The energy blasts that we see Barda use, along with an overarching blast of concussive energy, are also done with the help of a mega rod. The energy blasts from the mega rod are so strong that they can easily destroy an armored ship. The weapon basically has the same internal mechanics as that of a boom tube that was made in Apocalypse. It is confirmed when we see that, by reverse engineering the internal mechanics of the Mega Rod, Barda was able to create a transwarp drive, which she used to catch up to the cluster ship of Manga Khan while she was running short of power. Now, there is one thing we need to understand about Mega Rod. This weapon was made in Apocalypse, where everyone was enslaved to the will of Darkseid. That is why this weapon also tries to impose the propaganda of Darkseid into the minds of the user. Barda is a very strong-willed woman, which is why she does not end up falling victim to it. Whenever someone else takes the Mega Rod, they end up becoming Darkseid's servant sooner or later.
Stop! We don't want to hurt you!
Good!
Exploring the vulnerabilities in Big Barda's formidable physiology. Thanks to her evolution, Barda is a formidable character. She is one of the strongest beings from New Genesis. While her physiological changes make her last for 2 days without food and rest, allow her to go toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman easily, and her strong-willed nature allows her to wield a weapon that is constantly trying to corrupt her mind. It does not mean that Barda has no weaknesses. Her weakness is surprisingly a physiological one. Creatures from New Genesis are very strong, but they are weak around a particular material known as radium. Imagine that to be the kryptonite for Barda. Now, the source of radium is unknown, and it can be very toxic when exposed to explosions. Any new god can be easily killed if the radium is used in a bomb and detonated. But Barda isn't an average new god. Because of her lifestyle and the amount of training she has gone through, Barda has a sheer toughness about her without her armor. On top of that toughness, when you add the armor and her mother box, Barda is quite protected and safe. We have seen her take 2 hits from these radium bombs and still survive. Now, as radium cannot be actively mined, as its source is unknown, they are not used on a regular basis when new gods engage in combat. That is why radium does have an element of surprise to it when it is brought into the fight, allowing the opponent to get the upper hand of the new god. Is she immortal? Barda seems ageless. She looks like she's 30, and time has stopped for her since she was first introduced. This is because that is exactly how her body works. Barda was born in 1748 in human years. That is about more than 250 years ago. Despite that, thanks to her being close to the primeval energy, the source, her body underwent changes, and she stopped aging physically after 30. The only time she falls victim to the ravages of time is when she falls in a battle. If she does not, then Barda can easily live on for years and years. Marvelous verdict. Now that we have finished looking into the anatomy of Barda, there's no 2 questions in my mind about her strength. She's not someone that can be easily defeated. She is strong, not only physically, but also mentally. She fights off the propaganda of Darkseid while wielding her weapon of choice and does not crumble in the face of danger. She can easily go toe-to-toe with Diana and make it obvious that she manages to get the upper hand. Diana will have a problem in her hand that she will not be able to handle. When Jack Kirby designed this character, he put a lot of love into it, as Barda's personality is based on Jack Kirby's wife, Roz. The love he put into the character design is truly sweet, and it has been carried on by the fans throughout the years. Big Barda is one of the strongest characters in the pantheon of new gods, and we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into her anatomy. And if you like our content, don't forget to leave and like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.